Burkina Faso's 35-year-old president, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, is boldly rewriting the rules of leadership on the African continent. In an era when most African leaders are associated with luxury cars, palatial mansions, expensive designer suits, and private jets, Traoré stands apart. He has rejected wealth, refused a presidential salary, and continues to live as a simple soldier. For him, leadership is not about power or privilege, it is about sacrifice and service to the people. Many have compared him to the revolutionary icon Thomas Sankara, who in the 1980s stunned the world by adopting a modest lifestyle and declaring that African leaders should embody the struggles of their people. Just as Sankara rode a bicycle to work and wore military fatigues, Traoré also dresses in combat uniform and a red beret, even at international summits where his peers wear tailored suits. The message is clear. While others prioritize appearances, Traoré prioritizes authenticity. Traoré's journey to the presidency was swift and dramatic. In September 2022, at just 34 years old, he became the world's youngest head of state after leading a coup that ousted Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Damiba. Damiba himself had come to power in a coup earlier that same year, promising to restore security in a country plagued by extremist insurgencies. But as violence worsened, frustration grew, and Traoré, a captain, far junior in rank, took decisive action. In a televised address on October 1, 2022, Traoré justified the coup, saying Damiba had failed to confront the insurgency threatening Burkina Faso's survival. Although some in military circles were surprised by his meteoric rise, those who had served alongside him were not. They knew him as a courageous soldier, forged in combat, who placed his nation above his own ambition. His military career began long before the presidency. In 2014, he was deployed to Mali as part of the United Nations peacekeeping mission, MINUSMA. There, at only 26, he distinguished himself during a fierce extremist assault in Timbuktu, earning respect for his bravery and leadership under fire. Returning home, he continued the fight against insurgents between 2019 and 2022, proving his dedication on the front lines. His rise to the rank of captain in 2020 reflected not just seniority, but merit. Colleagues remember him as a man willing to endure the same hardships as his soldiers, never asking of them what he would not do himself. This battlefield experience would later shape his approach to leadership: disciplined, mission-driven, and rooted in sacrifice. For months after the coup, Traoré kept a relatively low international profile. That changed in July 2023, when he attended the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg. Surrounded by 16 other African leaders in formal suits, Traoré stood out, literally, in his combat uniform, red beret, and tactical gloves. But it wasn't just his attire that drew attention. His speech electrified the room. He criticized African leaders who accept handouts while failing to feed their people, warning against dependency on foreign powers. While he thanked Vladimir Putin for offering free grain to Africa, Traoré challenged his peers to achieve food self-sufficiency, insisting that leaders must prioritize sovereignty and act in the best interest of their people. The words echoed Sankara's fiery speeches of the 1980s and positioned Traoré as a bold voice for African independence in a new century. The comparisons to Thomas Sankara are inevitable. Both were young soldiers who seized power through coups, both rejected luxury, and both sought to reimagine African leadership. Sankara became known as Africa's Che Guevara, a revolutionary who believed leaders should live simply and serve the people directly. Traoré mirrors this ethos. Like Sankara, he drives modest cars, wears military fatigues, and lives without extravagance. He has openly stated that he will not accept the salary of a president, choosing instead to be paid only as a captain in the military. This symbolic gesture speaks volumes in a continent where leadership is too often synonymous with excess. By channeling Sankara's spirit, Traoré has tapped into a deep well of popular admiration. For many Burkinabe, he is not only their president but the rebirth of a revolutionary dream. He has not shied away from criticizing the failures of African leadership more broadly. He condemns presidents who behave like puppets of external powers, calling out the hypocrisy of demanding respect abroad while neglecting their people at home. His rhetoric is direct. Africa must stand on its own feet. Aid and donations, while helpful in the short term, cannot substitute for independence. His call for sovereignty is not just political but deeply practical, focused on agriculture, resource management, and self-reliance. In a continent where many leaders avoid offending powerful nations, Traoré's bluntness is striking. It has earned him both admiration and scrutiny, but it has also marked him as a leader unafraid to speak uncomfortable truths. When Traoré seized power, the military promised a swift transition to civilian rule. Yet as the July 2024 deadline approached, something unusual happened. People took to the streets, not to demand his exit, but to plead for his continuation. On May 25, 2024, a national dialogue in Ouagadougou extended the transition period by 5 more years. Outside, crowds of young people waved flags and carried signs calling for him to stay even longer, some chanting for 10 years of Traoré's leadership. The scene reflected both hope and division. Supporters saw in him a guardian of stability, someone capable of guiding the country through crisis. Critics, however, worried about the precedent of extended military rule and its impact on democracy. But one truth was undeniable. Traoré had won a level of trust few leaders in Burkina Faso's history had ever achieved. Traoré's vision goes beyond security. He has set his sights on transforming Burkina Faso's economy, particularly its gold sector. Despite being one of Africa's top gold producers, the country had no refinery of its own, forcing it to export raw ore for processing abroad. Traoré has moved to change this by initiating the construction of a domestic refinery, an effort expected to create jobs and increase national revenues. He has also cut taxes, eased access to credit for young entrepreneurs, and launched an innovative, popular shareholding program. Through this initiative, ordinary citizens can invest directly in formerly state-owned enterprises. When 20% of the national telecommunications company was opened for public purchase, the result was astonishing. $60 million was raised for vital projects. By combining fiscal responsibility with grassroots empowerment, Traoré is attempting to create a self-sustaining economy that benefits the many, not the few. What makes him truly different is not only what he does, but how he does it. He consistently insists that leadership belongs to the people, not the office holder. In a bold statement, he even affirmed that Burkinabe citizens have the right to protest against him, reinforcing his belief that criticism is not an attack, but a necessary check on power. Inside government, he leads by example. He reduced ministerial salaries by 20%, cut his own salary to that of a captain, and demanded discipline in public office. Ministers, he insists, are servants, not masters. This approach resonates with citizens who have long endured leaders more interested in enriching themselves than serving the nation. Traoré's humility, his refusal of opulence, his military attire, his modest demeanor, has rekindled a sense of hope that true servant leadership is still possible. Despite his prominence, Traoré maintains a strikingly private personal life. Little is known about his family or relationships, and he seems determined to keep it that way. Unlike leaders who turn personal life into political spectacle, Traoré prefers anonymity, focusing entirely on his duties. This discretion adds to his symbolic power. By removing the distractions of wealth, celebrity, and family politics, he places the spotlight firmly on his mission. His life becomes not about himself, but about Burkina Faso. In doing so, Traoré reinforces a new model of leadership, one defined not by image, but by integrity, action, and sacrifice. At a time when many African nations struggle with insecurity, corruption, and dependency, Ibrahim Traoré has emerged as a symbol of resistance and renewal. His youth, modesty, and courage challenge the old narrative that leadership must come with age, privilege, or wealth. Of course, questions remain. Can he sustain this momentum? Will extended military rule truly serve democracy? Can his bold economic reforms survive the realities of global politics? These uncertainties linger, but one fact is undeniable. Traoré has already reshaped the way millions think about leadership in Africa. For Burkinabe, he is not just their president. He is a soldier who chose service over self, a man who embodies the belief that leaders should live for their people, not above them. If this story of Captain Ibrahim Traoré's journey has inspired you, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Should more African leaders follow his example of modesty and service? Let us know what you think. And if you value content that explores Africa's changing leadership, consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement helps us continue bringing powerful stories like this one to you.